This is Brutus. He's a saltwater crocodile, and today is his 50th birthday. His extraordinary life has seen battles and assassinations. He's even taken on humans. But perhaps his greatest opponent has been his own brother, Nero. Two blood brothers, half a century of vicious rivalry, but only one can become Boss Croc. Let's go back 50 years to where it all begins. In the far north of Australia, deep within a wild and remote national park, Kakadu. A land of ancient beauty and prehistoric beasts. For Brutus, buried in a nest of rotting plants, year zero has arrived. Brutus is born. All 28 centimeters of him. His 50 siblings soon follow. The last to emerge is Nero. Their formidable mother has been defending the nest for 85 days, but they'll need her protection even more in the next few months. They're about to emerge into a dangerous world where size matters. Each section of the river is ruled by a large, aggressive male, the Boss Croc. He banishes, kills, and even eats his rivals. But in stark contrast, maternal crocs, like the boy's mother, are the only reptiles on Earth to show parental care. She gently uncovers her hatchlings. Brutus boldly makes a bid for freedom. Nero hangs back. At 40 years of age, Mom is an old hand at this. She's laid over 1,000 eggs in her lifetime. Even with her experience, less than 1 in 500 of her hatchlings will survive to old age. Without her, most wouldn't last long. Other crocs, lizards, and fish are on the prowl for bite-sized prey. So the youngsters huddle in the shallows for the night, under the ever-watchful eye of their bodyguard. Mom literally sleeps with one eye open as alternate sides of her brain shut down to rest. With first light, Brutus hauls out onto Mum's enormous body. Like most reptiles, he needs to warm himself in the sun's rays. Remarkably, Mom has switched off her cannibalistic urge to prey on reptiles this size, so her newborns and those of other crocs don't become an easy meal. The brothers tolerate each other now, but it won't last. A lifelong rivalry between stealthy Nero and bold Brutus is already brewing. Even with their monstrous mom by their side, there is no guarantee of survival here. There are marauding predators everywhere. In less than a week, 5 babies have disappeared down predators' gullets. Brutus and Nero are amongst the lucky ones. Mom does all she can to protect her remaining family. She hunts down predatory snakes, drawn to her freshly exposed nest, before they get a chance to attack her young. Chaperoned by their mother, the hatchlings head to safer waters. At this stage, leaving her side is incredibly risky. A giant of a croc is watching. This is Dad. Over 5.2 meters long and the weight of 10 men. He is boss croc of this stretch of the river. On his flank, a deep flesh wound, the result of a brutal battle with an opponent. He has natural antibiotics in his bloodstream and will recover quickly from his wounds, even in stagnant water. This is what the brothers could become, if they're lucky. Dad doesn't even recognize the hatchlings as his own. And soon, their mother will distance herself too. It's 8 weeks since the brothers hatched, and the wet season is still in full swing. Rivers have burst their banks to create sprawling floodplains, covering hundreds of square kilometers. There is an explosion of life. For crocs, this is a land of plentiful prey. Now 38 centimeters long, Brutus and Nero leave the protection of their mother forever and go their separate ways. A year and a half on, their family life is but a distant memory. Mom has turned from parent to predator. If they bump into her again, they might be on her menu. Brutus has settled into a sheltered tangle of mangroves, brimming with fast food. A rapid whip of his powerful tail turns him into a deadly acrobat. Although his landings need some practice. After a few failed attempts, Brutus masters a trademark move. Even at this age, he's a fierce hunter, but uses up precious energy with his efforts. Nero favors the mud flats, where he deploys his sneaky hunting technique. This place is home to some very strange fish. Mud skippers are perhaps the croc's weirdest neighbors. They're fish, but walk on their fins and breathe through their skin. Their eyes sit on stalks and can move independently of each other. Just like the crocs, they are fiercely territorial, and any intruder straying too close to a mudskipper's burrow gets warned off with an angry hop and flick of the dorsal fin. The frog-like fish out of water would make a juicy sushi snack for a young croc. But chasing the skippers is just too energetic for Nero. Burning a lot less energy, he lets the outgoing tide bring dinner to him. The waiting game pays off, and Nero grabs a crab. But Brutus is also growing fast. The more aggressive and dominant the croc, the more food they get, and the faster they grow. Brutus is a bully and a fighter, and that's going to land him in big trouble. In the Kakadu River, brothers Brutus and Nero are kilometers apart, and now both over 2.7 meters in length. Brutus, growing fast and furious, continues to intimidate his weaker rivals. He already has the temperament, if not the size, of a boss croc. Further upstream, stealthy Nero is concentrating on easy pickings. Because size is everything, a croc can eat rather than fight its way towards boss croc status, and this seems to be his plan. Nero's sensitive nose picks up the scent of dead meat. It's a rotting water python, perfect for a low-profile feeder. Bigger crocs are keen to get a bite of the action. So he quickly disposes of the evidence. Like all crocs, Nero is cold-blooded, so he doesn't need to burn calories to keep warm. 70% of the food he consumes goes directly into growth and energy. For a human, it's just 4%. The floodplains are drying out. Crocs abandon the evaporating swamps and crowd into the rivers. The presence of this female makes the males twitchy as they vie for a mate and defend their territories. Aggressive bouts can be deadly, so crocs only fight as a last resort. The largest crocs open their mouths wide, sending a strong warning to subordinate opponents. Nero reads the signals. He's forced to play a game of hide and seek with the bigger crocs. For Nero, who prefers stealth to conflict, all these crocs rubbing shoulders is a nightmare. He does his best to keep a low profile. But is banished from the shadiest spots with the most prey. Lucky for Nero, hiding underwater is a Croc's specialty. As he submerges, he slows his heart to just 5 beats per minute, allowing him to stay below the surface for up to 7 hours. Nero keeps clear of the big boys. But then, he meets a familial opponent. It's his brother. This is the first time Brutus and Nero have met in 15 years. They are as good as strangers now. To settle things peacefully, one of the brothers needs to dominate. Brutus slaps his head to send a burst of sound through the water. It's a warning. Nero seems to take the hint, but then rounds on his brother again. Now it's Nero who head slaps. But Brutus keeps coming. A clash of the 4-meter titans is inescapable. Brutus and Nero circle and stare. Fights are brutal. If neither side backs down, Crocs will battle to the death. Even the attacker is vulnerable. A prolonged fight causes a flood of lactic acid that can kill a healthy Croc. Brutus lunges first. Nero lifts his 4-meter body out of the water to make himself look even bigger. He circles back to his brother and arches his tail, tensing the muscles in his back to prepare for a strike. But Brutus is undaunted. He keeps piling on the pressure. Finally, Nero raises his head, a sign of submission. Brutus needs to recover. Still pumped with adrenaline, he surges up the riverbank and runs right into a 5-meter dominant male. Brazen Brutus is driven back into the river. He's lucky to escape with all his limbs. But this is not the last time his fiery temperament will get him into deep trouble. Five more years have passed. Nero is now 4.3 meters long, but he still hides from the Billabong bullies. His larger size has increased his appetite for bigger prey. Cunning and patient, he stalks a small family of feral pigs. These destructive interlopers were introduced by early settlers and now number in the millions in northern Australia. They wallow and dig at the edge of rivers, fouling the water and destroying native plants. In hot, dry weather, they never stray far from rivers. A pig like this would provide Nero with enough fuel for a month. Only eyes, ears, and nostrils break the surface as he shadows his prey. He stealthily repositions as his target moves along the bank. Then waits for the pig to come to him. Crocs can't chew, so to break up his catch, he spins. This deadly ballet is the infamous death roll. If Nero's killing spree continues, he will soon be large enough to threaten most of his neighbors in the river. Only the biggest, meanest crocs rule the Kakadu rivers. At over 4.3 meters long, young Brutus is bigger than Nero. He's a fighter and has the attitude, but not the bulk, to challenge the biggest crocs. After a series of defeats, he needs to find somewhere with fewer fights and a good supply of prey. He heads downriver, but big crocs guard all the best spots. "16 kilometers on, he reaches the estuary. Here, he submerges and waits. His timing must be perfect. The tide changes. This is his moment. He surfs out to take on the open ocean. He's heading north into the Arafura Sea, an ocean wilderness dotted with small islands. He uses currents and tides to keep on course and save valuable energy. Far from shore, a whole new cast of characters hitch a ride on the same currents. But life at sea is no pleasure cruise. Back home, the water was fresh or brackish. Now, he is immersed in pure seawater. He survives using special glands on his tongue to rid his body of excess salt. Riding this ocean express, he covers over 320 kilometers in 25 days. After weeks on the move, Brutus is running on empty. If he doesn't reach his destination and food soon, he could starve. After an epic sea journey, Brutus finally reaches his destination. Bathurst Island, over 320 kilometers from the river mouth he left weeks ago. But he's not alone. Dozens of saltwater crocodiles litter the beaches. Soon, the agenda for their meeting reveals itself. This is a sea turtle nesting ground. And hundreds converge every year. Just how the crocs know to journey to this remote spot is still a mystery. They put territorial instincts aside as they take their places for dinner. This turtle puts the finishing touches on her egg chamber with her hind flippers, then lays her 50 eggs. She covers her precious cargo, and now must run the gauntlet of the waiting crocs. Escape is impossible. Her journey at a brutal end. Starving, Brutus tries to muscle in. He is forced to wait his turn. But the best is yet to come. Brutus just needs to wait. Back on the mainland, with Brutus out of the way, Nero is moving up the croc chain of command. His home is a land of contrasts and extremes. For much of the year, there is little rain. Vegetation withers and bushfires can ravage the landscape. But it's now the start of the monsoon, and Kakadu is about to be transformed. Waterfalls go from trickle to torrent. Rivers rise and floodwaters blanket 1/3 of Kakadu. There is an explosion of life. 2,000 different plants and more than 280 bird species flourish. Insects and fish provide food for hunters, such as herons and egrets. The flooded plains allow saltwater crocs to roam far from rivers as they search for prey. Nero's heading to another strange gathering of hungry crocs. After heavy rains, mullet fight their way upstream to access rich feeding grounds. But fish finding is tricky. Luckily, he has an energy-efficient plan. Scales on his head and arms are pitted with highly receptive sensors, able to detect subtle movements made by fish. fingers outstretched, he reads the water. With this type of underwater radar, saltwater crocs can sense prey without even seeing it. Focused on fishing, the crocs tolerate their neighbors. It takes a while to get the knack. But will this tactic help him to out-eat and outgrow his brasher brother? On Bathurst Island, the baby turtles are hatching. Now they face a dangerous dash to open water. And Brutus is waiting in the darkness. Finally full, his ocean odyssey has paid off. Brutus will spend the next 2 decades as an island wanderer, feeding on turtles, birds, and fish, and fighting other crocs. Hundreds of kilometers away, back in the mainland waterways, Nero's quiet domination is growing. He's now over 4.6 meters long. At last, the title of Boss Croc is within reach. But there's one croc he's never beaten. His aggressive brother Brutus has been out of sight and out of mind. But that's all about to change. Some traveling crocs settle in far-off places, but a strong homing instinct means many return to their homelands. Now Brutus heads back to Kakadu. After a long return journey, he eventually reaches the river mouth. Bleached, battle-scarred, and weary. The water tastes sweet, but around him is a very different landscape to the one he left. It's the dry season, and northern Australia is in trouble. Baked and cracked, lush floodplains are now parched. El Niño has struck. Every few years, sea temperatures in the Pacific become much warmer than usual, punishing the north. In Kakadu, it is extraordinarily dry, and bushfires are raging. With temperatures reaching over 1,000 degrees Celsius. They consume virtually everything in their path. Even away from the fires, life at this time is brutal. Magpie geese become less active and wait out in the shade. Flying foxes flap their fleshy wings to fan their bodies. crocs hold out in the rivers. Because they're cold-blooded, they can't control body temperature, so they cool down underwater or laze in the shadows and gape. Wide open jaws can be a sign of aggression, but as temperatures soar, gaping helps dissipate heat from their bodies. But for some, this heat can be a killer. At 30 years old, Nero has fought to become Boss Croc. But he can't fight El Nino. Caught on drying floodplains, he's retreated to a small pool that is now a death trap. He lies entombed in mud to shield his body from the scorching sun. Moving and eating increase body temperature, so he does neither. Pumping blood into the scales covering his back helps to disperse heat. But it's not enough. If something doesn't change, and soon, he'll suffer the same fate as his neighbor. He's only days from death. Finally, the scorching stranglehold of El Nino breaks. The monsoon arrives with a vengeance, and not a moment too soon. Liberated from his muddy tomb, Nero makes it to the river. The boss is back, all 770 kilograms of him. But so is Brutus. They are now swimming in the same river. A river that is becoming toxic. Flash floods wash vegetation from the plains to form a rotting soup called Blackwater. Water quality doesn't bother Brutus, nor do other crocs these days. He's nearly 4.9 meters long and weighs even more than his brother. Though travel-weary, his formidable size gives him a free pass to move upriver unchallenged. A 90-centimeter bull shark struggles in the oxygen-starved water. Brutus is going to need all the food and luck he can get. He's now only a few kilometers from his brother and on a collision course. Nero is Boss Croc in this stretch of river, but the longtime contender enters his territory. Brutus closes in while Nero waits. There can be only one king in this river, and now Brutus wants the crown. The two heavyweights square up. In one corner of the ring, Nero, the current title holder with everything to lose. In the other corner, Brutus, former sparring partner who is headstrong but far from peak fitness. Nero raises his body and tail above the water to make himself appear as large as he can. A warning to Brutus that he's getting too close. Brutus responds with aggressive, agitated swimming. He arches his back, growls, and bubble blows aggressively. He dives and surfaces right next to Nero. But Brutus's energy levels are running low. He raises his head, usually a sign of submission. It looks like he's thrown in the towel. With Brutus on the ropes, it looks like Nero has finally won. But then, Nero takes to dry land for safety. But Brutus has one last message. Nero retreats and raises his head in submission. Brutus wins, for now. Nero withdraws to a new territory. Boss Crocs can live for 70 years or more. He will have plenty of chances to regain his title. Brutus's reign has lasted 19 years. He has fought off contenders and enjoys the privileges of a boss croc, mating with the local ladies. He struts his stuff with body and head raised to show off his impressive size. He inflates his body like a weightlifter flexing. But for once, he isn't intimidating a male opponent. He's in seduction mode, salty style. And this is the apple of his eye. For a full 4 days, he flirts. And she plays hard to get. But despite his best attempts and some alluring headgear, she's not impressed. This calls for delicacy and charm. He puts on his best croc-wooing moves. Bubble blowing and water shaking flirtatiously. Finally, she lowers her defenses. She raises her head to show she's not a threat. Then they dance. These intimate behaviors are rarely seen in other reptiles, let alone the world's largest and most violent. The reason they circle cheek to cheek is a mystery, but glands on croc chins release pheromones, which could help heighten the mood. Eventually, the pair retreat to the privacy of the riverbed to let nature take its course. Life is great for Brutus right now. he's in his prime. His kingdom extends over 5 kilometers and includes 20 females. To build on his 5.2-meter physique, he must continue to keep the calories coming. And he knows all the best eating spots. Right now, a wallaby would be perfect. Brutus barely breaks the surface. Oblivious, the wallaby approaches the river's edge. It's a perfect ambush. Brutus is on a roll, but there's one food item best avoided. Tourists. Kakadu is a national park visited by tens of thousands of people every year. The lunge may not have been fatal, but word will soon get out that there's a would-be man-eater in the river. Boss Croc is now Problem Croc. Days later, Brutus smells carrion. It's close, too. And being Boss Croc means he'll get it first. A typically reckless move has cost Brutus his freedom. With his brother captured and gone, Nero is once again Boss Croc. No one else can match him. Far from home, Brutus has new waters to patrol. With plenty of females to mate with, a constant supply of food, and a top croc health plan. Here in the Crocodile Sanctuary, he will likely outlive all of his wild rivals, including his brother, Nero. The surroundings may be different. His epic travel's over. But here, Brutus is definitely Boss Croc, and today he is 50. But he's not the only one with a birthday. Along a wild river, the female Brutus mated with lays her eggs. In the end, it may well be one of his offspring who succeeds Nero to become a future generation's Boss Croc.